Okay, so we have two call-up scenes. We're just going to do one more because we want to show you one additional thing that you can do with your call-up scenes here. So I'm going to make my third call-up scene. I'm just going to call it C for state C. Immediately, I'm going to go in and grab my snapshot. And let's see what's going on in our original design. So this is a two-line text. We have a big text up top. We have a little text on the bottom. Again, you can leave this snapshot in there, or we can just go back and grab the one that we took from our master scene to make sure that it does line up properly. I'm going to start with a group. I'm going to drag a font down again. We're going to use this big text and this smaller text here. So we're just going to have two text boxes here. So say first line, one line, two line, and that will quickly identify it for us when we open these scenes. So I'm just going to move these text fonts down and scale them to where we want it to be. First, let's put in the text we want. We're just going to call this one big text first line. I want to change this to texture instead of doing it geometry. I'm going to move my second line, reposition this down to where I want it. Let's scale it down a little bit. This is going to be smaller. Good enough right now. I'm going to change this one to texture as well. If we want to use a shadow on these, by the way, you can. You just come over to the shadow, turn on the little shadow button, and change the color. You have this drop down here where you can change your shadow. So if you have additional fonts connected to that particular font you're using, you can do that. So I'm just going to offset that shadow a little bit. And if you want to do it to the top line too, that's fine. We'll just add a quick shadow on here like so. If you want to change this text, we can. Now again, you may not want to use all caps, and this is a design thing. It's up to you. We're going to use lowercase. Again, I'm going to use the max size. So I'm going to go into my built-ins, into the tools folder, and drop this max size line on it. Kind of readjust that size. When I did that, you can tell we were at 0.74, so I'm going to go into max size and readjust this to 0.74. Again, by holding down control, I can go in smaller increments. Go into my text, like type out my text line. We'll come into the max size. Where do I want it to end? We set the max width to roughly 840, let's say, and that should cut off at that point. We'll get rid of the extra text. We'll drag this max size line down to the second line. Originally, it was at 0.61, so we're going to set our max size to 0.61 down here. Again, test the width. So if I come into my text and type all the way across, we need to spread our maximum width out until it reaches the end of the title safe. Good enough. I'm going to get rid of the extra text. The one additional thing that we wanted to do in this scene is to actually add an animation. So we can use this text scale, text size, text alpha, whichever you want to do. They all work the same. I'm going to set a keyframe at this progress percentage 0. I'm going to advance it to 100% and hit set keyframe. As you can see, my text animates on now. I'm going to drag this same text effects down to my second line. So when we hit play, they both animate on. If I want to go into my text effects and have it come on an opposite way, I'm just going to set the direction to opposite. I want to hit play. Both lines of text come in, animate on a different way. I'm going to go into my scene settings. And if you want to get rid of your background image now and change the color, we can do that. We still have two things that we need to do. One, we need to grab our control text function so that we can give control to the producers and trio operators. I'm going to drag my control text and drag it on my first line. This is going to be the first field identifier, one line, and I'm just going to leave the default values. I'm going to drag the control text onto my second line. Field identifier, we're going to change to 2, and I'm going to leave the rest as default. I'm going to come up to my control object description. I'm just going to say state C. We're going to turn on transition logic. Again, our layer identifier is L3. Our state identifier is C. That's our C stop point or C state. Our background scene is called master. And I'm going to hit save. So that's it for this call up scene. Next video, we'll show you how to quickly import this into Trio and test it real quick before moving ahead.